Brought to you by Tenant Controls. Lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. And this is episode number 70 of the Model Shop, coming to you again live this week from our shop here in San Antonio, Texas. We've got a nice little show lined up for you guys tonight. We're going to kick things off tonight with a look at the 1955 Chevy Gasser that I just finished up. I built that one up to be a replica of the car from Two Lane Blacktop, and I had a lot of fun working on that and getting that one done this week. We'll check that one out. We'll show you the model all finished up, and we'll talk a little bit about the work that I did on that and how I got everything done. Then we've got a nice update on the 132 scale Kitech kit, the Blue Thunder that we're working on. I've started to do some painting on it this week, and I've also installed the Tenant Controls lighting system and worked out some of my lighting for the strobe lights, so we'll show you an update on that one. And then towards the end here, we've got a nice little guide for some of you newer modelers out there that are looking to get into some demonstration of the different types of lighting components that are out there, different types of LEDs, some LED strip and things like that, and we'll talk a little bit about how we use that and what we select for different types of projects and trying to keep our lighting in scale and all that. So a nice little show for you guys. And then at the end, I've got something really, really special that we've been working on a long time. And we've got a nice update to share with you guys and talk a little bit about on the news on that, and a little bit of modeling news tonight too, guys. So nice show in store. We'll be right back after our break and come back with a look at the 1955 Chevy up first. See you right after that, everybody. Okay, everybody, back with you again, and here we are looking at our 1955 Chevy Gasser from the movie Two Lane Blacktop. Got this one finished up this week. Had a really, really fun time working on this model. It wound up being a lot of fun fabricating and making all these parts fit. We used two different kits, which I'll talk about here real quick. We used the Millennium Edition 1955 Chevy kit that we showed you, that we did the out-of-the-box kit review on a couple of weeks ago. And then we used the 124 scale monogram 66 Malibu Street Rat kit, which those kits are kind of hard to find. I was actually really lucky when I went onto eBay, and Chris Cortell and Chuck Brooks and a couple other people made some suggestions to me as far as where I could look on which specific kits, because we needed a we needed a specific engine for this model, and we needed some specific chassis parts, some racing chassis parts to make the details that I was looking for on this model. And so I was able to find one of those kits, and I actually got two kits for the price of one. I got the street kit, or the street rat kit, and I also got this really nice 66 Malibu SS, both complete kits for like $30. So we'll probably build the Malibu SS a little bit later when we get around to it. And but I was able to use the street rat kit and get everything I needed. I needed the big block Chevrolet engine. I needed the 4-speed transmission. I needed the ladder bars for the rear suspension. There were quite a few other little things there. The mechanism for making the since that both of those kits, the Malibu and the street rat, have the flip up front end, so I needed the hinge and everything out of that to make my front end flip up. I probably could have fabricated that, but it was nice that it was all included in the kit. So we just went in on this, and we did a lot of scratch building. We scratch built our hood scoop here. We scratch built basically almost the entire interior tub because I had to shave the back seat out of the interior bucket that came with the 55 Chevy. This car, you're supposed to be able to see all the way through when you look in the trunk. They had like taken the back seat out. They had taken the rear sheet metal out that divided, you know, the trunk between the passenger compartment, because they carried a lot of stuff in the car. And I also decided to replicate those little details. We got a couple of little extra sets of racing wheels and a little floor jack and some other stuff they had in the trunk of the car that we saw in the movie. You can see that we've got our front end that flips open here, and we've got our 454 Chevy engine in there with the high-rise tunnel ram. That was why we got the street rat kit. It came with all that equipment, and just some little other odds and ends that I gathered up from some other kits that I had left over from the 68 Charger kit. We have the steering box and the steering arm, or the shaft that goes up into the firewall. Same thing, the master cylinder there. We have the front suspension from the street rat kit, but this particular car had the what they call coil-over shocks at the front, where the shocks that came with the street rat were just simple shocks. So I just took some tiny little thin gauge copper wire and just wrapped it around the shocks, and then painted them to, you know, simulate the look of the coilovers. And then we did a lot of fabrication in here. We fabricated all the cross members and everything out of sheet styrene to make it all tie together and button it all up. The engine mounts and everything, the shock mounts, I had to make little tubes coming up off of the chassis here. The firewall itself, once we cut the front end off of our 55 here, we had nothing there. So the firewall is from the 66 Malibu Street Rat. And since it was kind of wider and more rectangle shaped, I just shaved it down and reshaped it. And I built the side filler walls here out of sheet styrene, 030 gauge sheet styrene, and boxed all that in. And that worked out really good because we had with our street rat here, we had these sockets in place already on the firewall for the lower half of the suspension that comes with that kit to with the leaf springs and the, you know, straight axle mount and everything coming out of that, and we were able to just kind of fab it all together. Now the critical thing was to get everything adjusted so that the wheelbase was correct, so that when we have, you know, when we close this thing down here, our wheels are lined up, you know, centered in the back part. Wasn't too hard to do because they were just leaf spring mounts, and I could slide those forward or backward however I needed. But on the front we had to do a little bit of measuring and cutting and everything to make sure that all lined up, but you can see that all worked out really good. Let's go ahead and we'll show you what we did as well here. Thanks to our good friend Chris Cortell, we had the ability to open up our trunk here. Now we used Chris's excellent tip on using fishing line to cut open these panels. That's how I cut the front away from the body, and that's how I open up the trunk here. It works really great because it leaves a really small gap when you cut the material away, so that you don't lose a lot of the plastic there if you try to cut this with like a hobby knife or something like that, and wind up having some really wide gaps there. So it keeps the gap about as small as you can possibly get it. I used some
5-pound nylon fishing line, which is some really, really fine stuff. And I wound up breaking it 3 or 4 times when I was doing this, but I had plenty of it, so I just uh, got another piece and kept going. Now, the important part was that I needed a piece that was probably about a foot long or a little longer, because I wrapped it around my fingers, and that way I could just, you basically just put it on your line and you just start rocking it back and forth like this. And it was kind of amazing, because when I first started cutting, I thought, wow, this isn't really doing anything. And then all of a sudden you start to hear it start to squeak as you're doing this, and what it's doing is the actual cutting, it's building up friction on the plastic and the nylon, and that actually starts melting the plastic, and it digs right in. I was able to cut this entire trunk and the front end off of the car here in about 30 minutes or so, which I thought was totally amazing. And I was able to control it, keep it exactly where I wanted it to go, because we already had these sort of lines on where the trunk detail was, and on the divide between the door and the fender up front. So that worked out just absolutely cool. And you can use that on a lot of different things if you're gonna want to cut something like that. So hats off to Chris for passing that one along. And that's why the community and watching all these videos and joining forums and everything like that is so valuable, because you can pick up some really awesome and valuable tips like that saved me a whole lot of trouble. But what we did here is we just kind of continued on. Once I got all the body work done, we opened up the rear wheel wells. I used some styrene strip here to add the little wheel lips, and shaved them down, hand sanded them until they were the shape that I wanted. And then we just used a little bit of putty over the edges of them to make them blend in. We painted the body with our basic primer, and then we showed you a little bit of that technique that I used last week. I did that did the entire body with that same technique. I took a little bit of our artist chalk, I grinded it up, and then I just kind of sprinkled it on the car, and then I just took a wet brush and just went straight down to make my streaks here and there. And we just kind of changed it up, like we started up on the top and then we started like halfway down to try to break it up a little bit. And I think it comes really, really close to how it looks on the pictures that we had of the real car that we were referencing. And then up on the top here, as I talked about, the front end of the car is fiberglass, and so is the trunk, so we didn't want to have any corrosion on that. But up on the body and up here on the cowl area, I noticed on the film that they had a little bit of light oxidization, starting up on there from the roof getting all sun bleached and all that. So we used a little bit of our rust compound that we have here, and just lightly dusted that on, and then just kind of rubbed it in with my fingers to where I got it where I liked it. And then I just brushed over it a little bit to spread it out, and did the same thing on the cowl here. I'm going to go ahead and take the stuff out of the trunk here really quick so we can show you the detail on the bottom side of the model here. Got our little tires and our floor jack. We'll show you a little bit more of that in a second, but we can turn the model over now. And you can see on the bottom here what we've got is we've got a fabricated exhaust system. These headers have been cut in a couple places here. These are the headers that came with the Street Rat kit, and they curved out like this, and then they came way out here to almost outside of the fender. So I shaved those back a little bit to keep them inboard, and then we had to cut them again here to shorten them a little bit. And these are actual collectors off of another set of headers that were left over from my 68 Charger kit. And so we glued those on, and then we've got our little mufflers that were off of the same 69 Charger kit. We cut the ends of them off and just left the little stubs that had the little sort of muffler clamps there, and put those onto the collectors. And these pipes here were just hand bent. I just kept heating them and bending them until I got them to where I wanted them. And if you look at the car on the film, it had this weird, I think I replicated that look pretty good. Now the only difference is the headers on the car in the film, they sort of came up and then came down, instead of going down and then over like this. But I can live with that little difference. But we still got the little part right here looking just like it should, so I'm real happy with that. Then we've got our ladder bars here from the Street Rat kit, which this car had. We used the stock 55 Chevy springs here, and then we just kind of grimed it all up with a little bit of our artist chalk to put a little bit of road grime on that to make it look like she's been down the road a little bit. You can see a little bit of the detail here on the cross braces that I made out of sheet styrene to kind of box everything up and reinforce everything. So that worked out really good. We made our hood scoop here out of some 030 sheet styrene as well. We painted that with some all clad, and then I took some real light 600 grit sandpaper and just scuffed it a little bit here and there to make it look like sheet metal that's been grinded on a little bit here. They just kind of welded it together, and that's how it looked on the car. Here on the sides, we removed the little wing window detail there, and we just took some 030 clear sheet styrene and made our little sliding window detail there just by cutting it out and overlapping the two of them. And we put the full carpet flocking in the car. I put a little bit of the artist chalk here in the back to make the carpet look kind of dirty, but you can see, just like in the film car, you can see all the way through there, and you can see up to the dash and everything. That's how it was. And they just carried a bunch of extra racing equipment in the car. These guys were street racers, and they just drove around the country looking to just different small towns, and they would try to find another car to race, and they'd race for money and all that. So they would want to switch between street tires and the racing slicks. And that was kind of the premise of the whole movie. We've got the little tachometer like they had mounted here. We've got the Cal Custom steering wheel, which I actually wound up finding in my leftover from my A-Team van, which was the exact steering wheel I needed, so that was great. So yeah, when you buy all these kits and you save all those extra parts, it can really pay off in the long run. The rims here are aftermarket. I got them on eBay. They were like $6. Little resin rims, which are the American Racing, what they call Daisy rims. They had the narrow and the offset here, deep dish, and I'm really happy with the service on that too. I ordered them, and I think I got them like 2 days later, so that was really great. So there you go, guys. There's the 55. We're gonna put everything back in here, and we'll spin it around a couple times on the turntable for you so you can check it out. But I'm real happy with this one. I'm in the movie there was another main character, which his name in the film was just GTO. He had a 1970 GTO 455, and so sometime down the road, I think I'm probably going to build that car because that's a car that I like anyway, and we'll have that to go with this one, but it'll probably be a while. But it was really fun putting this together. Like I said, I really enjoyed the challenge of it because it was a lot of fabrication and a lot of making things work, and try to get it to look like it's designed to be this way, like it's like it was a kit that came this way. We'll go ahead and open up the hood here for you. But there you go, guys. There's the 55 Chevy from Two Lane Blacktop. Like I said, had a lot of fun building this one. I love these little sort of kit bash projects, and I love the rat rod look of this car. It's just really cool, and like we talked about in the little bit of trivia behind this, like we talked about last week, is that this same exact car was later used in American Graffiti, which is an all-time classic film. It's probably much wider known for that car, the car that Harrison Ford drove. His character name was Bob Falfa. They just changed a few things on the car. They cleaned it up a little bit. They painted it black. They put the front bumper back on it. They put different wheels on the car, but it was the same car. And that car is an iconic car, so you could easily do something similar to what we did here with this build and build up the car from American Graffiti as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, we had a lot of fun, and real pleased with how it turned out. So if any of you guys out there are think about wanting to build one of these a little bit later, just hit me up, and I'll be happy to answer any questions I can about the stuff that I use to put it together, or any tips I could give you to pass along. I'd be happy to do that. So there's the 55 Chevy, guys. Okay, we'll call this one a wrap. We'll come back here in just a little bit, and we're going to have a look at our progress on our Blue Thunder, doing some really cool lighting, and we've got some of the paint work done on that. So we'll be right back with that, guys, right after the break. Well, here we are, everybody, with a look at the progress that I've been making on the 132 scale Kitech Blue Thunder kit. Uh, Making some good progress on it this week. We've been working on the fuselage here, and I first got my outer hull colors done here. Looking at photos of the Blue Thunder that I could find online, and then we had some people posting over at our Google page. Found out that the helicopter is basically a two-tone. The upper color here is sort of a lighter blue than the bottom half. It has this sort of I don't know what this stuff is. It's almost like a Kevlar or something, matting on the outside of this thing, and that section of the ship is a little bit darker. If I kind of get it up in the light here, maybe you guys can see it. I'm not sure how good the camera definition will pick it up, but we've got all that done. We've got it done on both sides here. As I mentioned a while ago, I finished drilling out all these holes here on the spine and everything, and we've got our gun pods mounted in place here now, and got everything painted. We're going to be dropping our little fiber optics in here. We've got our navigational lights lit that we showed you a little while back, the little box sections that we made here for that. So, you know, my basic way that I build these models is I like to paint all my parts first, and then what I'll do is after we get this thing glued together, I'll just go back and do my putty work here, masking off all around the seam edges here, and then I'll just sand a little bit on the seams with the putty. I won't let the putty spread out very far, and then we'll just mask off again, and we'll just blend our paint back in over our seam lines once this is all assembled. And that's basically the way I build most of my models. I like to paint everything first because it's just my method for doing that. It's just easier because you can handle all the parts and everything before the entire model is all put together. Some people like to build when it's all finished and mask everything off, but I just found that it works a little bit more efficient for me if I do it this way. Like I said, because I can handle all the parts and everything, and you know, get in there to do all my masking and all that, and then, you know, paint all the individual. Now our little wings and stuff like that, they just glue on separately at the end here, the landing gear skids and all that. So that'll be easy to put all that stuff on when we're all done. You can see I've done that same thing here on the other side, on the starboard side of the fuselage here. But the most interesting thing I wanted to show you guys now is that I've been working on my lighting. If you guys remember, we showed you that we were going to use our Tenna Controls little miniature aircraft lighting board, and I've got that all installed now. I've been working on getting my basic lighting done, and what I decided to use was I've got my constant on red and green navigational lights mounted inside my gun ports, or my gun pods like we talked about, so I didn't need to use the lighting for the board for that. But what I did use off of the board is I used the two different strobe effects that we showed you when we did the demo on the board here a week or two ago, and I decided to put the double flashing strobes here at the back on the tail. We've got one, you know, pointing out the rear, and we've got one coming out the top, and then we've got a single flashing strobe here down on the belly. And so what I had to do to make all this work is I just took my Dremel tool and I made some small little trenches here. I tried a couple different methods first. I guess I should start off where what I started with. First, what I tried is I tried to use some fiber optics, and so that's why I kind of have this mess here in the middle. I glued two 5mm bulbs in here, two 5mm whites, because they fit in this spine area really good, and I ran some of my fairly thick fiber optic up here and had them coming out, you know, the tips, and it worked and everything, but I just didn't like it because it was really directional as far as how well you could see them. In other words, you almost had to look straight at them, even though I mushroomed the tips and everything, before they would actually, you'd see the lighting effect. And strobe lights on, you know, vehicles are supposed to be really, really bright. That's why they're there. They're like warning indicators, and, you know, they want to let you know from pretty far away that there's something out there. So I scrapped that whole idea and took all the stuff back out. And so then what I wound up doing is I used a couple of my really small 0805 regular white SMDs, and I mounted those just inside the areas right here at the tail. So now what I'll be able to do is just drop a really, really short piece of fiber optic in there, And when I tested that out, that worked out really great. They lit up way, way brighter, and they looked great. And I don't want them like, overly bright either. I want it, like we always talk about that, keeping these things in scale and everything. But they are definitely going to show up about like they should. Now down here on the belly, I did the same thing. I've got an 0805, but being that this is a little different arrangement here, we don't have a flat surface to mount to. I took a little piece of hollow plastic tubing here, and I glued that. Basically, if I can get that a little bit closer there for you, I glued that so it's halfway on one side of the hull, and when we put the other half, it'll be halfway into that. And I suspended the SMD right in the center of it and glued it in place, facing down about halfway up the tube, and that way I can drop a piece of fiber optic into that as well, and do that at the very end after the entire thing is all put together. Same thing back here. That's the reasoning for this. When we do all this work and we glue it all together and do all of our putty work and everything, we'll have two little holes left over there that we can drop our fiber optics into, and that will give us the lighting that we want to have. So just kind of recapping here, the extra wires on the harness, I just clipped those off. Don't need those, but this board is a really nice board like we talked about. You can connect right off of that and have your different red and green wingtip lights and things like that. But like we already did that inside of our pods here, and those will just connect directly up to power. So whenever the model is powered up, I'll just tie these right into our, we've got our power coming into the board right here, so those will get tied in right into that on both sides. You can see we've got the board mounted in here as well. This nice small board has a perfect place to put it here right behind the cockpit area. Our bulkhead for our cockpit kind of winds up like right in here and then goes across, so we've got plenty of room for all that. And it's not sticking out any further than the sides, so we've got plenty of room to close the model up and not have any issues. We won't be using this switch either. I'll probably just connect those two wires together so that it's always on, and then whenever we turn power on, the entire model is just going to come on. We're going to mount this on one of our polar light bases again, because we're going to make this in flight and just kind of have it suspended on the rod with a little dome base, and I'll have my switches down there below it, and it'll just need one switch to come on. I might do a soundboard with this too. I haven't decided on that yet. Probably will, since I've got plenty of soundboards here. So we'll probably come up with some sounds for Blue Thunder and incorporate that into our base. So it's all working out good. So what I'll do here, guys, is I'll go ahead and put some power to this thing for you, and then you can see our flashing lighting going on here. Make sure I don't go backwards here. We got the negative on that side, and we got the plus here. This board runs at 9 volts. I think it'll run between 9 and 12 volts, so if you've got a 9 or 12 volt power supply, you're good there. These wires here are just for our little navigation light on the side, so we don't need to worry about those. So we'll turn this thing on, and you can see at the back we get these great little double flashing SMDs, and they are nice and bright. If I get this a little close to you here, as you can see there, and so they're going to work out perfect for our lighting here at the tail. At the bottom, you can see our belly light there, which flashes at a different rate. It's just a single off and on strobe light, which I really like the fact that Ralph built these different effects into this board. So this is going to be great. And you can see that, whoop, I lost my power there, sorry about that. You can see that the scale on this lighting is going to look really good too. It's not like blowing up and way too bright either. So that's the whole idea that you want to have with your lighting on your scale models, that you're trying to keep everything matched up. So we've got this other nav light here on the other side, which will, like I said, will just connect to the power. We don't have anything else going on here. I've already got this trenched in the back here for our clearances. If I can just kind of hold this up here and show you guys what I'm talking about. We'll just kind of hold her together there, and you can see that everything fits really good. It closes up really nice and tight, and we can still actually see the lighting coming out of that. So by the time we get our fiber optics in there and everything all cleaned up, the putty work all done and everything, that's going to look really, really good. Um, we may have to, put a little bit of thicker paint here on the outside to light block our little flashing that's coming through the plastic, but that's no problem at all. So you can see that that's going to work out really great, guys. So what I'll be working on this week to update you for next week's shows, I'll be starting to work on the cockpit. I'm referencing those photos that were posted online. I think they were from Bill Tilley, who's one of our viewers here, that posted on our Google page, which had some really, really nice high-resolution detailed photos of the model, or of the actual real Blue Thunder, I'm sorry. And it gave me some great reference for the colors that are on the interior of the cockpit. There's quite a bit of different color going on there. I thought it was basically just a couple shades of gray, but there is some kind of olive green going on in there. There's some tan. There's some different shades of gray, and gave me an idea of what we can do to detail the instrument panel a little bit more. And then, of course, what I mentioned, the plan is we'll be doing a little bit more lighting with a couple small SMDs like we used here to light up our computer screen readouts on the for the rear station, for the, I guess you'd call him the situational awareness officer. The pilot sat in front, and we had the other guy in the back that looked at the screens and monitored all the, they had infrared, they had night vision, they had all kinds of equipment on the helicopter. They had sound monitors and all kinds of cool stuff. But we're going to do a little readout on those screens like we talked about, and that'll add some detail to this thing. So I'm really happy with how it's going so far, guys. I hope you enjoyed our little update here, and we'll be back next week with a little bit more on the Blue Thunder. And well, I guess we'll call that a wrap for this one, guys. We'll come back here, and we're going to lay out a couple of lighting components here. We talked about we're going to do just a basic lighting guide. We're going to show you some of the lighting products that are available out there for some of you people that might be new and looking to start lighting some of your models, like your starships or your scale model cars and things like that. We'll be right back with that, everybody. Hang tight. Alright everyone, well, what we have here on the bench are some basic miniature lighting components that you might find useful for your scale model lighting projects. We've gone over this stuff quite a few times here on the show in various incarnations with the different projects we've worked on. One of the things that you see me use quite often is this LED tape here and things like that for lighting up our large Starship model kits and things. but I thought I'd go into a little bit more of what we're using here for some of the people that are new and want to find out where to start and where to look for some of this stuff. We'll take a look here first. We have a selection of miniature LEDs here. We have first what we call a butterfly LED, which is a really, really tiny, I think it's about a 1.5 millimeter LED, and you'll see that these come marked on the back side here, if I can show you that without getting this too blurry, with a little line marked on there which indicates the polarity. The line will indicate on this particular one that that is the positive side, because you can see the configuration of these. You have the two leads coming off there that are equal length, where normally on your LEDs you'll see that the legs on the LEDs are different lengths, and the longer one's always the positive on most of your standard LEDs. But these are really quite handy for doing different types of miniature lighting. I really like the fact that they have this small little nub on the top here, if you can kind of see that. And I'll often use these for my marker lights on my starships. I'll drill a little hole and have these mounted so that that is just kind of poking up through there. Not quite sticking out of the surface, but just, you know, up inside that hole. And being that they're so small, they put out a really nice in-scale look. These are ideal for something like a 350 scale TOS or Enterprise refit for the navigation and strobe lights. So they work really great, and they're available in all different colors. When you buy those LEDs, you want to make sure you check the spec on those to make sure you match up the proper resistor that goes with them. Like I talked about in last week's episode when we talked about some of the electronic components, and we talked about resistors, that it's really important that you match up the resistor with the proper LED. Here we have what's called a lighthouse LED, which you can see it has this really nice extended tip onto it, which is really, really cool. And again, something similar to what I talked about, I'll use these quite often for marker lights and things like that, where I want it to extend through something and have just the tip of it sticking up. And these are available in all different colors as well. These are your more standard type LED, which will usually, if you're going to run them at 9 to 12 volts, a 1/4 watt 470 ohm resistor will be just fine for those. Here we have the standard 5 millimeter LED, which is probably the most common LED on the market. This is again standard 1/4 watt 470 ohm resistor. Will run most of these at between 9 and 12 volts, and these are available in multiple colors, as well as what we call RGB type, which are the multi-color changing units now that are available out there, or the flickering type, or the flashing type. There are several different versions of that. Here we see we have a 3 millimeter standard LED, and basically those are available in the same configuration with your RGB type, your flashing, your flickering, and all different types. And here we have our standard LED tape. This is the standard issue double density LED tape that's been on the market now for probably 4 or 5 years. And this is used quite frequently to light like large areas, say inside your hull of your starships, or your even your scale ships, such as if you were building like a Titanic or something like that, and you wanted to have all the windows, you know, lit, the window ports, and you're going to want to cover a wide area. This is the ideal product to use for that, because it can light up a really large area with just a few strips of this stuff. And we talked about that last time. It's got its own resistors built into it, so you just basically power this up by soldering directly to it, and you can run this. It requires a minimum of 7.5 volts for it to light, and I think it's good to all the way up to something like 20 volts DC. So anything in between those two ranges and it will light. The brightness of it all depends on how much voltage you put in. So if you're running at 7, it's going to be fairly dim. You run it at 20, it's going to be really, really bright. So you just have to kind of fine tune it to whatever your application is that you're trying to light. But, you know, for example, just maybe about 5 little strips this long of this will light all the windows in the saucer area on your 350 scale Enterprise, for, you know, just for reference. So that's really, really handy, and it's kind of revolutionized lighting with these larger models because just before this stuff came out, we were trying to light big areas like that. We had to put like 20 or 30 of these 5mm white LEDs in there and wire them all up separately and wire resistors to each one, so it's a really huge time saver, and it's more or less foolproof. Like I said, with the built-in resistors, you just connect power, and as long as you connect the power of the correct polarity and within the right voltage range, there's really nothing that can go wrong with that. Now, just recently, this has been introduced onto the market. This is what they call 0805 LED strip, which is available through Jerry at HD and ModelWorks. This is some really great stuff because it's similar to the standard LED tape, only it's about only as 1/4 as wide as the regular tape. So if you have a really confined area that you need to pack a lot of lighting into, or if you're just doing, even small type things and it's in a really tight space, you can sneak this stuff in there. Now the difference in this is that in most cases it doesn't have an adhesive backing on it. Like I should have explained that here. Most of your standard LED tape is mounted on some 3M sticky back adhesive, so you remove the backing there and you can stick it down, whereas this 0805 stuff doesn't have any adhesive on it, so you just have to glue it down wherever you're going to use it. And there are no contact points on the top to do any soldering to, so you can see if you look at it really carefully on the back side there is a dividing strip, sort of an insulator that runs the entire length, and what you have to do is take your hobby knife and just scrape a little bit of this material off of here and really carefully solder your wires onto that. And you want to make sure when you dab the solder on there that you don't cross over on, past that little dividing line right there, or otherwise it'll be making a short and it won't work. So I recommend that you get some magnifying glasses or whatever you need to do that. I've been using this stuff quite a bit lately, and I'm having no trouble at all working with it. You just have to be really careful, and like I said, use good magnifying glass or something like that so you can see what you're doing. It's marked, if you look really carefully, on the front side here, which is plus and minus on the left and the right, so you can figure that out when you make your connection. But if you happen to get some of this tape that's not marked, which oftentimes it's not, you won't hurt it by putting reverse polarity to it. In other words, if you connect the wrong ones, it's not going to burn it out. It just won't light. So just try it both ways until you finally get it to light up. I'm not exactly sure all the different colors that this is available in. I think Jerry is carrying this in both warm white and standard white for now. I'm not sure if he's going to be adding different colors, whereas our standard LED tape here is available in a wide range of colors. You can get warm white, soft white, medium white, red, green, blue, purple, ultraviolet, yellow, just about any color you can think of, it's available. So, and it's also available in both what we call double density here, which means that's basically telling you how many SMDs are mounted on here per inch, where your single density is a little bit more sparse. It's kind of, I would say that the double density is better for if you're going to light something, for example, just again back to the Enterprise again, like the chiller grills on the 1/350 scale Enterprise refit, where you don't want all the hot spots. You probably want to go with the double density stuff, because keeping the LEDs closer together like that makes kind of one solid piece of light. You'll always wind up having to do some kind of diffusion to make that go away, but the single density is spaced out so far that you're going to see these individual points of light. Now sometimes you may want it to look like that, so you just have to kind of plan out what you're going to light and think about the different type of stuff that's out there. And most of the suppliers of this stuff, if you contact them, Jerry included, he'll and you have a specific application or something that you're trying to do, you can tell them what you're working on, and they'll probably steer you in the right direction as far as which to get. As far as I know, I think right now this is the you can see this is more the single density type where they're kind of spread out. I think that's the only way this is available right now. I could be wrong about that, but you could contact Jerry at HTA ModelWorks to find out more about that. Here we have our standard SMDs. Now these happen to be the 0805s, which are the most common ones that I find myself using all the time. They do the job on almost every application that I'm working on. Every so often I require some that are smaller than this or even a little bit bigger than this. They're available in different sizes and intensity as far as how much light they put out. You can see that these are pre-wired, where they come with a built-in resistor. So these are set up to run between 9 and 12 volts DC. And we just talked about there where we use these exact same ones in regular white on our Blue Thunder for our strobe lighting. And you can see how nice and bright they were. These work really great for floodlight type effects where you want a lot of light coming out. The reason you get the big floodlight effect is that you've just got basically the raw element there casting light. There's no lens over the top like the SM or the LED here. You can see has the basic the filament in there that's actually creating the light, but the clear plastic over the top is the lens, which actually focuses the light and makes it more pinpointed and things like that. So it's got a narrower beam to it. You can also look up the specs on your LEDs. It'll tell you the visibility angle. In other words, if you can think of it sort of like as a a fountain coming off the edge of this thing, how narrow it is, if it spreads out really far, or if it's narrowly focused, and that's all related to how this lens has been shaped. Now you can alter that because these are just plastic, and they're not like a incandescent bulb where if you mess around with this, you're going to puncture it and all the gas is going to come out. There's no gas or anything in these. It's a solid piece of plastic. So you can grind these down. You can grind them down as far as to where you don't touch the element in there. If you touch the element, you're going to ruin it. But you can grind these down really far. You can reshape them. One thing that little technique that I'll do a lot is I'll sand all these down, and that way the light will kind of come out of it all the way around it like a, like solid instead of just focused. So like if I'm trying to do something specific where I want a lot of light coming out, in one area. So those are all things you just learn with experience and just trial and error and experimenting and things like that. Now these SMDs are available through Jerry at HDA Model Works, like I talked about. Do yourself a favor, and if you can, possibly buy these pre-wired, because there are some of them out there on the market that are not pre-wired. That's just a basic tiny little SMD there. And if you're not really experienced on doing soldering, especially like on micro tiny small stuff like this, you'll probably be really frustrated trying to solder wires onto it. And then you also might not have the proper resistor to go with it, and you could wind up burning it out like that. So these come with resistors that are pre-tuned for these. And again, these are available in all different configurations. Jerry carries pretty much the wide variety of those entire that line. We've got the warm white, the standard white, we've got green, red, on and on and on. So that's just a quick guide here, guys. Not super in depth, but just to get you new people out there who are looking to get into lighting, some basic ideas about the standard kind of products that are out there. There's a few more specialty types that are out there that I didn't show you, but about 99% of the projects that you've seen me do here in the shop with all the different starships, the cars, the even our Blue Thunder here, all the different things that I've lit, I've used nothing more than what you see right here. And it can all be, like I said, you just kind of have to plan out what you're going to be working on, and then you just kind of, get what you need accordingly. And like I said, most of the suppliers out there are more than happy to answer your questions on what you're trying to do and get you the right products. Most of the stuff is all fairly inexpensive too. You can get these rolls of LED tape for a whole roll for like under $10, and it'll last you quite a while. So I hope that helps you out, guys. If you ever have any specific questions about it, you can always drop a line on the video, and I'll try and answer it if I see it on there. So there's a look at some basic types of lighting, and like I said, just keep in mind that you always want to look up all the specs on all this stuff so that you don't go outside the boundaries of what they're designed for, or they'll fail on you. They may not fail right away, but they'll fail later on, and you don't want to have that happen after the model's already been all put together. That's not a good thing. So do your homework on this stuff. Okay, guys, that's going to be a wrap. We're done with everything on the bench tonight, so now we're going to head over to the shout outs for tonight and see who's all here, and do our Q&A session for tonight, guys. So we'll be back right after the break and see you for that. Stay tuned.
Okay, everybody, back with you again. Well, I hope you enjoyed everything we had to show you guys tonight. I'm real happy with the getting the 55 finished up and the progress coming along real nice on the Blue Thunder. I'll be working a little bit more on that this week, and next week we'll come back and show you some work on the cockpit and everything. Still trying to figure out a little pilot figure for that. Talking to a couple of my buddies, I think we might have something worked out here, but like I mentioned, we can always put the pilot in there at the very end. I can pretty much move on with the rest of the build. And I also hope the little tips there on the lighting products help you guys out. A couple people we mentioned there, Jerry at HDAModelworks.com. He's really helpful and carries a wide variety of all the different types of LEDs and strip lighting and SMDs and all that stuff we showed you there on the bench, so check that out when you get a chance. Okay, guys, just we're going to move along here now. Just wanted to pass along a little quick modeling news, thanks to a couple of our people from over at the community, a little heads up. It seems that there's a little bit of an issue with the new 22-inch Eagle kit from Round 2 models. There's a couple of little parts that are, the engineering didn't come out with those, what they were exactly hoping for. I don't think they're anything serious where you still can't build the kit the way it is, but from what I understand, they wanted to have some certain things detachable and things like that, and some pins that are supposed to be in some of the parts are missing and things like that. If you head over to the Round 2 Models website, you'll be able to read the little bulletin that they put out about that. They're pretty much already sold out of the first release of the kit, which is pretty amazing. That's great to hear that that there's people out there interested in a subject that's 35 years old and still really, really popular, and it'll make it worthwhile for them to have done all the work to produce the kit. We've all been waiting for a large-scale version of that kit for a long time. Those of us are old enough to remember watching the show when it was originally on, Space 1999, that is. And so hopefully that'll encourage them to kick into gear and build some more, put out some more bigger kits and some more variety, that's maybe not Star Trek and some of the other stuff, some of the other mainstream stuff. So I think pretty soon we ought to see the Proteus submarine from Mobius Models, too, from Fantastic Voyage, a large-scale kit that has a fully detailed interior and everything. They should be putting that one out pretty soon, so that's another really cool kit to look forward to. But from what I understand, Round 2 is already addressing the issue. You may have to inquire with them as far as whether they're going to replace the parts from the original kits, or you're just going to have to go with what you got, and they're just going to update the new. What they're saying is that they're just going to update the second round when they release it. It had something to do with engineering coming out of China, so but they'll get it fixed. And but like I said, I don't think it's anything serious that you can't build the kit that you have. So nothing, nothing to really seriously panic over. Okay, guys. Well, I mentioned at the beginning during the chat session when I was talking to a few of the people when we were just getting ready to kick off the show that I've got a really big surprise for you guys tonight. Something that I've been working on a really, really long time. A lot of you guys have been following along. We've been talking about it forever, but we can finally share some stuff with you guys tonight. Some news about our 8-foot Enterprise refit. We've been working behind the scenes on that one for probably close to 2 years now, getting things figured out. It's been a long, time-consuming project, a very expensive project. When the whole story of this thing comes out later, when we document everything and get the whole process started, when we actually start building the ship and all that, you guys will hear the entire story, and I think you'll be pretty amazed about going all the way back to when I went out to L.A. and met Paul Olson and the rest of the people from that worked on Star Trek The Motion Picture, and how this whole thing kind of took off from there. So it's a pretty amazing story, but thought I'd share some stuff with you guys tonight that you might be interested in, and got some pictures to share with you guys. Up first, we're taking a look at some parts here of our model. This, as you can tell here, if you're a Enterprise refit fan, you can see that this area that we're looking at right here is the impulse deck on the model, and you can see the really, really nice detail and how accurate it is. This is a much more accurate part than even the part that's on the Polar Lights 1/350 scale kit. We put a lot of research into making these parts really, really accurate to the original studio model. Now, looking at these parts here, you might think that this is, looks like a 350 scale, but just to give you an idea of the size of these parts, the impulse deck there is probably about 8 inches long, maybe 9 inches long or so. You can see part of the fan tail there. You can see in the little bag down there, you can see the sensor domes that go around the main deflector dish, and those are probably about 1 inch long or so. So quite a bit bigger than a 350 scale Polar Lights kit. Up next here, we can see we have the main primary hull halves. These are actually the master molds. That's why they have the kind of the funny color on them. These are approximately as long as your leg, basically. So they're really, really huge parts. And you can see that we've got the grid lines and everything looking really nice on them. The detail for the airlock doors is going to be really, really nice, and you can see sort of the detail there where the arboretum is on the lower section there. And we're of course going to be doing a full shuttle bay interior in the model, which the actual original studio model never had that detail. It was they needed to insert the metal armature into the back of the model for the front-on shots when they filmed the model coming towards you. So there was never a shuttle bay in there. That was all done post-production. So that's an interesting fact. But ours is actually going to have a full shuttle bay in there that we're working on. Up next here, you can see we have the chiller grills, the inner and outer chiller grills, and some parts for the nacelles. The caps up on the top, you can kind of see the areas there where the warp engine crystals go there at the top. And just to give you an idea on these are probably close to 3.5 feet long or so. Just the grill itself is as long as the entire Polar Lights kit is. And so it's going to be pretty spectacular in size. And we've made a couple runs on these parts here because it was just kind of fine-tuning them. You can see they're kind of, the clear parts especially, are already kind of frosted. The outer grills are 3D printed at 66 microns, so they're really, really crisp detail on those. And keep in mind, the parts are still kind of in their rough condition. They'll be cleaned up quite a bit, once they're primed and everything. Up next, we have the main saucer. Now, this is the master mold, basically. Now, our saucer, when we finally have the completed saucer that we're actually going to use, You can see here that this has separated into 4 pieces. It's a top and a bottom and then a left and a right. Well, we're eliminating the seam down the middle to where it'll be just a top and a bottom, but there'll be an acrylic ring that runs around the entire edge, which will be your basic saucer wall, which will be molded in clear with all the window ports already cast into that, the reliefs for the windows, so that basically when it's painted, it'll be done exactly like the original was, where we just mask over the windows and paint the rest of it, pull our masks at the end, and we have our clear windows in place on the edges of the saucer. So this is just the rough master of the saucer, but that saucer is about 4.5 feet in diameter, so it's really huge. And then we'll move on along here next. This is probably my favorite picture of the parts. You can see the beautiful detail on the bridge and the B and C decks there. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's totally accurate to the original studio model with our shape of the bridge and where it's located on the top. It's just absolutely perfect. A lot of work has been done to that to make it extremely accurate with all the scribed on detail that's not there on the Polar Lights kit. And over to the right there you can see the lower planetary sensor, and if you look closely at it you'll notice that it has a much lower profile than the part that's on the Polar Lights kit, which is not accurate either. And also the edges of the sort of floodlight ports there have the small greeley detail in there that you can see, and the edges are beveled correctly, where they're sort of at an angle, cut at an angle, where the Polar Lights kits are just straight, which is not correct. And then down below you can see some small miscellaneous parts. You can see the mag grills, you can see the deflector dish lens there, the deflector dish housing. Just to give you another idea of scale, the deflector dish lens is about 6.5 inches in diameter, so it's again pretty big. You can see a little bit more, just odds and ends in there. Some of the like the nacelle intakes there, Bassard intakes, and some of the other small details. Those have all been made with a 3D printer. And then finally, our final picture to share with you guys is of the warp nacelles here. And these again are the master molds, so they're not in the regular white material that you see with the other parts, but these are beautiful. They're about a little over 4 feet in length, about 4 feet few inches, and so they're going to be huge. And we're going to once they're all sanded and painted and everything, you'll see all the detail pop. It's a little hard to see all the detail on them with the black primer that's on them right there. Keep in mind, like I said, these parts are all kind of rough, but it'll look just like the Enterprise refit studio model when she's all finished up. And of course we're going to be making a big metal armature for the inside to support this entire model. There's no way you can build this without having a really strong backbone and support for the pylons and the nacelles and up into the neck and the saucer itself. The plan will be to have this built to where it can all be broken down with some sort of Allen screws that hold it together, so we can remove the nacelles, we can remove the saucer with some quick connecting connectors on the inside to separate the electronics. So if I ever want to move it or ship it somewhere, we can disassemble it and break it down. So there's a look at our 8-foot refit, guys, and I know it's been a long time coming. Some of you guys out there might have had doubts that we were ever going to make any progress on it, but believe me, like I said, down the road a little ways, when the entire story comes out about this thing, it'll be really interesting for you guys to catch up on all of it. And we've had to kind of keep it, a lot of it under wraps, and for a lot of different reasons, but it's going to be fantastic. We're looking at probably getting the parts in here, still working on the neck, working on some other small areas, and probably within the next few weeks we'll start getting some parts in here, and I'll actually be able to show the parts here in the shop. Still some work to be done on the saucer and everything, and it'll probably take, like I said, probably close to a year to get it all built and painted and everything. A lot of engineering still needs to be done. We got to build the armature. We've got to come up with the electronics. My friend Jerry is going to help me with some masks to do all the Aztecs, and so a lot going on. If you guys remember, we started off this whole project back almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half, and we kicked off a crowdfunding thing, and we had to shut it down because we were planning originally on going with the time slip kit that was already out there, and when that was no longer available, we had to basically go completely back to the drawing board. So we're going to be reopening the crowdfunding campaign to help us raise some money to be able to complete this thing. I've put a ton of money into this thing myself, but we're going to need a little bit more to get everything to come together. Like I said, we're going to need to build the armature. We're going to need to build the. We're going to need photo etch parts. We're going to need to do a lot of stuff yet. But depending on how the crowdfunding thing goes, it's going to, just to be upfront with you guys, kind of the way this thing's going to go is so I don't lose my rear end on the whole thing. Is what we're going to do is we're going to either, if we can raise enough money to do it on the crowdfunding thing, we're going to do it strictly like that. If we don't raise enough money on the crowdfunding thing, then we're going to produce, well, there's going to be a DVD documentary produced of the entire build from start to finish regardless, but it'll depend on whether the whether we reach our goal or not, whether we'll be able to just do a regular series on our TrekWorks channel of the build-up. If we can't raise the funds, then we're gonna sell the DVD as a documentary when we're finished, which will help us raise the money to do the whole thing. Regardless, either way, if you donate, you'll get a DVD when it's all finished up. But like I said, we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. It's all going to come down to once I figure out the entire budget and everything. I've got a pretty good idea, but it's probably going to be a few more weeks along before we put out some actual numbers. And like I said, we know a lot of you guys out there don't have a lot of money, and you're modeling on a budget just like the rest of us. So if you could help us out a little bit, we'd really appreciate it, or at least spread the word. And I'll have some more details about that coming up really soon, and we'll go from there, guys. So I thought you guys would enjoy seeing that. I'm also looking at taking a look at the large-scale Cygnus kit that I talked about that's available. It's around an 8 or 9 foot model, and so we're talking about maybe doing something with that too, because that kit is available in its complete form right now. So we're taking a look at that one. I would absolutely love to build that one too, especially at that scale. There's a lot that could be done with that. And it's probably one of my favorite designs, right up there with the Enterprise. I always thought it was a fascinating ship, and it's really cool that they've got a large, super detailed, really accurate kit of that available that's out there, and kind of want to hop on that before it disappears like all this really cool stuff seems to. But so anyways, guys, I wanted to share that with you guys first tonight. You guys are have been with us for a long time, and a special group of people that comes to watches our show every week, so you guys are the very first ones to get a chance to take a look at that, and I hope you're as excited about it as we are. It's going to be fantastic, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while to build it. We want to do it right, so it took a team of 20-something people, 2 years to build the original, so I'm just by myself here in the shop, but I'll have a little bit of help here and there. I've got some friends in town that are going to help me with the armature and everything, which is what we'll be starting with. That's the foundation that we have to build the model off of. So, but a lot more coming very soon, guys. All right, guys, I'm going to head over to the Q&A now and do our shout-outs for tonight and see what you guys are, see who all's able to be on with us tonight and see what you guys are talking about. So here we go, guys. Heading on over there now. Bring up the list. And let me see. Let's scroll up to the top here. Got Chuck Brooks here with us tonight. Nice to see you, Chuck. Chuck and me and our Armando and Kel Sweet and a few other guys are kind of been hanging out kind of regular on Uvu most nights, building our models and having fun talking. Mike Scarola's here, of Caesars, here with us. George Volkowski, Perry Love, James Schulenberg, Alpha Trion, 92. Let's see. Roll on down here. Chris Farrell's here. Rob Miser. Brian Knowles is here. Mike Scarola. Sean McClure, Triskelion. Dan Harris. Mike Kovach. Scott Hall. John Petrie. of Caesars with us tonight. The Swedish Dr. Plastic. Let's see, making sure I don't miss anybody here. Christopher Baxley is here with us tonight. Classic Plastic, nice to see you tonight, Chris. Nice to see you well on the road to recovery. You're looking really good and sounding really good, guy, and you're loving your updates on your model build projects. The Captain is here with us tonight. Gary M. Holtzberry Hobbyist is with us here tonight. Again this week. Nice to see you. Dadnator24. Mark Shue. George Volkowski. I hope I'm not repeating some of you guys. They said it goes by so fast. Derek Sabora is here with us tonight too. Nice to see you, Derek. Country Woods 9000. Yeah, if you're out there watching with us, guys, make sure you just type a quick little comment in here, and that way your name will pop up, and we'll make sure we give you a shout out. Get Real Tony, I think he might be new. Nice to see you with us tonight. Mitch Seagraves, Mitch Gibbs, Big Stats. Now we're starting to see some other people checking in now. Arturo Perez. Murphy Peoples is with us tonight. James Frost is here tonight. eBiker56. Nice to see you, James. James has been continuing to post his wonderful updates on his Papercraft Millennium Falcon. Speaking of the Falcon, I finally, guys, I'm a little late to the party, but I finally got to see The Force Awakens the other day, and I was really happy with the movie. I thought it was excellent. Really, like a lot of people said, it really reminded me of the, the original feeling of the original Star Wars films. Already looking forward to the next one. A lot of people are commenting here about being more happy with the show being on Sunday night. I agree. It works out much better for me too, and we had a higher view count as far as live viewers that were watching the last week, so I think it's working out pretty good. I just saw Rocket Boy 69 pop up. Nice to see you, Mike. Dan Harris, I'm not sure if I called you out. W Hunt 10866. Federation Shipyard. Nice to see you, Dennis. Yeah, a couple guys have asked because next weekend is going to be the here in the States, big deal for us in America, the Super Bowl. But we're going to go ahead and do the show. So if you guys are watching the Super Bowl, you can always go back and watch it later on replay. But we're going to go ahead and do it. My team's not in anyway, so it's not that big of a deal to me. I can always record it and go back and watch it later. We just got to have everybody promise not to do any spoilers that are in here. I don't think it'll be over with by the time the show's over with anyway. So, yeah, we're going to do a show next week. That's the plan. Somebody else just popped in here, Christopher Steninger. Hope I'm saying that right. Nice to see you, Christopher. I think Christopher is his first time on with us, and he said he got a great welcome from everybody. Well, that's the kind of crowd we got here, Christopher. Great people. We all just love building models and helping each other out. That's why it's doing so well. We're having we keep getting a bigger and bigger audience every week, and more people joining in on the chat. So those of you out there who are watching on our replay a little bit later on, we encourage you to join with us and hop in the live chat. It's really easy to do. You just the show comes on at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock Central Time, USA Central Time, 7 o'clock East Coast Time. You just go to the TrekWorks channel. You'll see that the broadcast is starting. You can click on it, and then there'll be a little box that'll pop up that says Join Chat, and you just click that box, and you're in the chat session. So, yep, we encourage all of you to check that out. There's a lot of really fun discussion going on during the entire broadcast of the show, and you can get questions answered. You can talk about what you're working on, all kinds of cool stuff. Find out a little bit of the modeling news that everybody shares in there. Okay, guys, I'm going to run back through this and see if there's any questions that anybody had from what we showed tonight or anything else. Alpha Trion was asking about the how the 8-foot model was designed. It was designed from a 3D model that took quite a few years to develop. The artist of that doesn't want his name mentioned right now, but it's been a long process for him to work on that, and it's somebody who is not only good at doing 3D modeling, but he happens to be an enterprise refit guru who knew every single detail about the model and made it, incredibly accurate. It's going to be, like I said, it's quite a bit more accurate than the Polar Lights kit is. The Polar Lights kit's slowly being corrected. There's a lot of aftermarket parts coming out for that. In fact, I know Jerry is working on a couple of parts that he'll be talking about pretty soon when he's ready to announce that. Some more accurizing parts for that model that make a big difference. So they're slowly working it around, but there's quite a few things on the Polar Lights kit that aren't quite right. But this one is really close, guys. I mean, it's going to be an exact replica, like I said, of the original studio model. And keep in mind, they spent $300,000 back in 1978 when they built that. We're going to do it for a fraction of that. So it's pulling off a minor miracle. Yeah, a couple of you guys are asking about where we're going to keep the model. Well, I'll be keeping it right here in the shop while it's under construction, and then, as I mentioned, about a year or so out, I'll be into my new shop by then. And what I've talked about all along is that the plan will, our shop layout is going to be sort of like a little display area up front with, like, the building that I'm looking for is going to have a little sort of a display area up front with a big window in the front, sort of the reception area. You come in, you'll see all these models. We're going to set up a lot of models on display there. The big Enterprise will be a feature display. If everything goes well with the refit, we actually want to do another one, a follow-on to that one of the TOS Enterprise at the same scale. And so those two ships will be there. And then we want to look at doing some of the adversary ships, original Klingon cruiser, a Katinga cruiser in the same scale. A lot of big ideas, but if we pull off the refit, it all can be done. And the mold guy that I'm working with is extremely talented. The 3D files have already been worked on for a lot of these designs, so it's a very real possibility. And that will be sort of an attraction, and people can come in the shop and see those models on display. Now, we'll never charge anything to come and see them. Unlike, the original is locked away in somebody's private collection, they won't let you even look at it anymore. And that was kind of the whole reason why I wanted to do this, because I think that the ship should be displayed to the public, with the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, which is really important. And just when we announced this thing, the plans for this a year and a half ago, I had people from all over the world writing to me that said they were going to, they'll travel all the way over here to come and see it. So that's fantastic. Like I said, we plan on having a big unveiling, and Paul Olson himself will be here to be here for that. And we hope a lot of you guys out there can come and join us, even if we have to rent a hall. If we've got that many people that want to come, we'll put it up on a stage and do it big. We'll do a big Texas barbecue celebration here, and we'll have a wonderful day of celebrating the ship and Star Trek and everything else. And Paul has even told me that he'd like to do a little bit of painting on the model, so we'll save a little spot somewhere so he can paint some of the Aztecing on it, and that will instantly make that model part of history. So it's going to turn out to be really, really cool. And like I said, you guys will be the first ones that are invited. Hopefully you could, we'll give you plenty of advance notice so you'll have time to set aside, and we'd love to see you here and meet all you guys in person. Gary M. out there says he does some CNC work. If we need any CNC work, well, I'll certainly keep you in mind, Gary. You never know. I think I've got a pretty good handle on the armature. Like I said, I've got a friend right here in town who's a structural engineer, and he does all that kind of work. And we've already been sort of planning it all out. The armature is going to be really a really nice piece, because it's going to be set up so that talking to Paul about the struggles he went through when he actually painted the model, they had to lay it on its side and lay it upside down and all kinds of really dangerous stuff. So our plan here is our armature is going to be fully adjustable, and standing basically at my chest height, so it'll be able to tip on its sides. It'll be able to, stand straight up and down, or whatever angle I need it to be, and locked really firmly in place. So when I do all the painting on the model, I can literally just, at a nice comfortable level, walk right up to it and just, spray. And that's the whole key to doing good work. You have to be in a comfortable position. Paul talked about where he was on his back painting upwards and things like that, and it was really difficult. So we're going to avoid all that stuff. And the armature will be made sort of stand solid on the ground, but the model can be totally tipped on its side, and that way I can, either the top or the bottom. That way I can do all the Aztecs on the saucer, top and bottom, the nacelles, the belly, everything. So we've had time to work on all that stuff while we've been waiting for the molds to come through and everything. A couple more people checking in. We've got Dave Pashtag. Nice to see you, Dave. Andrew C., American Legend. John Crow. Wobish 442. Randy Gagliano. Michelle Bennett. Michelle, I hope you made a recovery on your Enterprise D. I'm sorry that you had that issue with it. Like I mentioned, it's a really nose-heavy model, and she will want to tip over on you or come apart if you're not really careful. But I hope you got all that worked out. You did such a beautiful job on the building the model. I hope you got it all patched back up. A couple more people. Jonathan Milbury. Andrew C. Perrin Greenaway. I haven't seen SF Modeler check in tonight. I hope DeWitt made it tonight. He's our resident note keeper. He keeps up with all the comments and everything, and sends them to me after the show's over, and in case I miss anything. Got Chris Redinger here. Says, as I was gluing some final parts over a painted surface, the part slipped as I was holding it it needed pressure to make a mess with dissolved paint primer. Tips on prevention fix. I guess what you're saying, Chris, you got a little glue on the model you didn't want to. You can take a little bit of sometimes some polishing compound and work it down and get rid of it, or you can take a razor blade, and they actually make these little tools for a razor blade that you can put a razor blade into it, and you turn this little screw and it actually makes the blade curve a little bit, and you can really carefully go and just start scraping it on there on just that part, and get rid of most of the whatever got on there, and then you can buff on it with something, some polishing compound or whatever, and hopefully make most of it go away. What I do sometimes is, like when I'm gluing on the little door handles and stuff on the sides of my cars, and I'm really worried about goofing up and shaking or something when I'm about ready to put it on there, is I put some tape around it. I have the little area marked where I want it to go, and I put some tape really close to the edges of it, so that way if I happen to slip, the glue gets on the tape and not the model. That's one method I use. There's probably some other people in here that have different ways of doing it. Rocket Boy's asking about burning your LEDs. Yeah, Rocket Boy, what I always do is once my entire circuit is built, I let everything run for like at least 24 hours before I install it or seal everything up. If it doesn't burn out in that time, it's probably not gonna. That's pretty much been the rule of thumb. Just plug it in out here in the shop and just let it run. This stuff runs on such low power it doesn't get hot or anything like that. Arturo Perez is asking about what I think of the D'Agostini Falcon. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful kit. I don't really see any other questions popping through, guys. I'm going to try to scroll through here again and make sure I didn't miss anything. It's so hard to do. I know I mention that almost every time, but they scroll through so fast for me here, and it doesn't let me scroll all the way back up to see the ones that have passed after they've been gone for a second or two. Sounds like a few of you guys are planning on joining us when we get the model finished and having our unveiling. So, yeah, we would love to have you guys here, and it'd be so nice to meet all you guys in person. I've had the pleasure of doing that with a couple guys. We hang out together. We did our little field trip over to the Johnson Space Center. Became really good friends with all those guys, and then when I went to when I did the Jersey Fest show and taught those two classes out there the year before last, met quite a few more people out there from the community that I got to know. So that was really cool. There's nothing like meeting the people in person, and it would be such a, like I said, such a fun event to have a day of, like I said, celebrating the ship and Star Trek, and we all really are passionate about all that stuff, so I'm sure it would be a blast for everybody. And then get to meet Paul Olson. Paul might even bring Jim Dow along with him, which that would really make my day. That's pretty cool. Okay, guys, I think I'm seeing pretty much an end of the questions. I haven't seen any. Mike Scarola wants us to build the Malibu kit. Yeah, we'll get around to that one, Mike. Like I mentioned, I got those 2 kits for the price of 1, and I didn't have to raid that kit for anything. I got all the parts I needed off of the Street Rat kit, which they're basically the same, except the hood scoop is a little different, and one car has a tunnel ram, dual quad tunnel ram intake, and the other one has a GMC 671 blower set up on the top of it. So the Malibu SS there has the blower, so we'll definitely work on that one. We'll come up with a nice color choice for that, and I don't know if I'll do the flame job on there. That's kind of old school, but we'll probably do something interesting with that one, and maybe change up the rims that it comes with. I want to mention too, a nice little set of wheels I got with the Street Rat were some nice little aluminum slots that I'm going to need for another project. I want to do the Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry Charger. I got the die-cast car, but I want to build the model, and those were the perfect rims for that car that came with that kit, so we've got that. Like I said, all those little parts, you save them up and you never know. Sean McClure is asking about soundboards. I'm still working on the soundboards, Sean. Just email me with what you need. I'm basically right now just kind of keeping up with the orders of the boards that I already have, which are when the website's up here in another couple of weeks, that'll list all the boards that I have currently. I pretty much talked about them already before. I've got the toss and the refit. I'm doing a sort of a revamp on the refit. I found some ambient bridge sounds thanks to Chuck Brooks out there who tracked those down for me. That was something I was trying to do on the original issue of the refit board, but we found the actual a nice long looping sound effects of the bridge that we're going to change up, and then maybe I'm going to work on doing a little bit on the photons. The phasers I was pretty happy with, but we've got those two. We've got the Space 1999 board. We've got a couple of Battlestar Galactica boards that I'll be coming out with really soon, because I'm working on one for our big Battlestar Galactica build that we're doing here that I think would go well with anybody out there that's building the Battlestar. And then we want to do a classic Battlestar board for the Battlestar itself and for the Cylon Raider, you know, and the original series stuff. So I'm working on it, but just email me if there's something you need. There's a couple people out there who are waiting for a few boards. I'm just basically fine-tuning on them. A couple of them, my friend Jamie Shiner out there, he's been waiting for his Munsters board. I had it all ready to ship out, had it all boxed up, and I just took it back out of the box and started tweaking on it some more because I wasn't totally happy with it the more I thought about it. But it's sometimes hard to find the exact sound files that I want and make them fit and everything. So, and then I'll see something a little bit later that I like even better than what I originally put on there. So, but like I said, just contact me and we'll get you hooked up. Okay, guys, I got 7:45 here my time, so it's starting to wind down kind of long. Appreciate you joining us again this week. We had a great time, and I'll be announcing more news about the 8-foot model. But we'll be back for our regular show. I don't want to harp on that too much. Just want to keep things going on our regular show here. And didn't quite get around to putting an update out on the Battlestar on the TrekWorks channel this week, but I'll get one out in the next couple of days. I've got some stuff in the can. I just got to get it edited and put out. We're making more progress on that. And so you can look forward to that for sure this week. I just got busy with some other things here. So I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Had a good time. Nice to see you, all you out there building your models and forwarding your updates and your progress and your comments and tips and everything that you're sharing with us at the Model Shop Google community. A lot of the other modelers there really appreciate that. You can help somebody with, it's much appreciated. So keep that stuff going, guys, and keep sending those pictures to us too so we can get a new slideshow put together. Okay, guys, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Have a great week building your models. Take care out there, and we'll see you next time, guys. Good night. Bye.